when my granny wrote the song, and many people thought she wrote it like in the 40s or something. She actually wrote it in 1928.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, and that's other songs from other people. Yeah.
She's written about Hamish Henderson.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like so it's like it's just Fiona's going to sing it from the actual words, and you can see where she's scored out. You know that word doesn't fit there. So it's called the Berryfields of Blair. We sing it unaccompanied, and
I'm very distracted by this.
that's okay. Fiona's easy distracted. You should have seen her in there with the sticky toffee pudding. Embarrassed.
Oh
She
my
took a
goodness.
photograph of it to send to her lad. Honestly, God. Okay, it's called the Berryfields of Blair, and it's just a wee insight into what life was like in Blairgowrie and the surrounding country in those days.
And it's also an insight into what an amazing songwriter your granny was.
Well, she was an old bugger, but she was a good Right, okay. When May time comes round each year with population swelling, there's every kind of picker there, and every kind of dwelling. There's tents and huts and caravans, there's bosses and there's bibbies, aye, shelters made with tatty bags, and dugouts made with dibbies. Now there's corner boys for Glasgow, kettle boilers for Lochee. There's miners for the pits of 5 mil, workers for Dundee. There's fisher folk for Peterhead, and tramps for everywhere, all looking for a living off the Berryfields of Blair. Now there's travellers for the Western Isles, for Arran, Mull and Skye, for Harris, Lewis and the Kyle and the Bute, they come their luck to try. For Inverness and Aberdeen, for Stornoway and Wick, they flock to Blair at the berry time, the straws and rasps to pick. There's some wha picking for 1 purse, and some wha pick a lane. There's men wha share alike, with wives that's no their ain. There's sadness and there's gladness too, there's happy hearts sincere. Aye, there's comedy and tragedy played on the fields of Blair. There's some wha earn a pound or twa, some can't earn their keep. Some would make for Monty night and some would rather sleep. There's some wha has to pick a sterve and some wha dinna care. Aye, and some wha bless and some wha curse the Berryfields of Blair. Now, before I put my pen awa, it's this I would like to say. You'll travel far before you'll meet a kinder lot than they. For I've mixed with them in field and pub, and while I've breath to spare, I'll bless the hand that led me to the Berryfields of Blair.
Wow.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Fun and
Yeah.
as I say, it was it was a healthy pursuit.
Aye.
And, it's
Aye.
amazing, and the places you went, the people you met was unreal. It's
Yeah.
really good.
And were people if you got to a place and nobody knew about pearl fishing, was that what you were looking for?
That would be good. Yeah, that'd be really good.
And then
yeah.
would you keep it quiet at that point? What you were
I
doing?
don't know, we're too big with. We used to have our friends with us. Every weekend we had friends that lived in Ratty beside us, guys that worked as joiners.
So it was a jolly as well as
Well,
anything else.
A weekend away, and they would have a good
Aye.
Saturday night drink. Maybe we'd stay in a tent.
Aye.
Next day we'd all go pearl fishing, and then we'd go and sell them on the Monday, and we'd give them
Aye.
their share of whatever it was. So it
Unbelievable.
was great fun.
Great times.
Yeah,
Lord
but it
Soames.
was hard work.
Talk about him.
Who?
Lord Soames.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you this one. Kelly and I, we planned on going to the River Laxford.
Where
And this guy stole my Land Rover, so
Laxford.
the Laxford's
Is that in Scotland?
northwest Scotland,
All right.
up beside Scourie.
Oh yeah.
And we didn't have a vehicle. Land Rover had been stolen and burnt out, so the insurance company gave me an Astra, a brand new wee Astra. But I said, this is too small. That's not what I need a big car to put all my stuff in. We had berry farm at the time. We
Aye.
got a wee berry farm, and we used the vehicle to do bits and pieces. So I complained about this Astra, but Kelly said, never mind, that'll do. We'll go pearl fishing. So we took off about midnight and we're going to Larksford Bridge, which is it's a long, long, long way away.
Mm.
So we got there about maybe 6 in the morning. It was summertime, it was daylight. So we starts fishing in the river. It was a famous river at one time, but you didn't know who owned the river or how you would go. Sometimes a gilly would come to you and he'd be as nice as night and he'd say, on you go, carry on, great. Sometimes a gilly would come and he'd say, come on, get out of here, this is salmon river, you're not allowed being here. But this was a Sunday morning, and nobody fishes salmon on a Sunday in Scotland, so we thought they're not going to be able to stand here fishing today. It's a famous river for salmon and midges. Anyway, Kelly and I were in the river fishing away and we got a nice few pearls. So I heard this, there was a lay-by just about 15 feet up on the road. I heard this bang of the car door and I looked up, a great big BMW, black BMW, and this guy comes out, a guy that maybe 60 odd, a big orange jersey on, white jersey on, white hair, comes running down the bank and, what are you doing, what are you doing? And Kelly was on the side he was on, I was on the other side. Kelly had the pearls in a bottle.
Yeah.
We kept them in an aspirin bottle.
Yeah.
That's what you did, you put them in a bottle. With some water in the bottle, river water in the bottle. Always kept them in the river water. So this old gentleman starts shouting at us. He said, hey, what are you doing, what are you doing, what are you up to? So I said, we're pearl fishing. Oh, who told you could pearl fish here? I says, nobody told us. I says, who told you about it? I says, well, my father-in-law mentioned that when he was a young lad many years ago, he'd pearl fished it, Mary's father. And we just thought we'd come and have a look at it. But we'd been there before that, anyway, he didn't know this. Anyway, he said, can I see what you've got? And I thought, if this guy owns the river, he might just grab them and take off with them. Could maybe say they're his or in his river. Anyway, I was okay, so Kelly tipped him in his hand and showed him to the gentleman. So he said, oh, these are beautiful. He said, they're lovely. He said, if you wouldn't mind, he said, you like this, we didn't like it, a grey coloured one. It was the same size in Mary's ring. But it was grey coloured. It wasn't shiny. It was shiny, but no, just very good. Worth a great lot. And a few other nice ones. And he said, oh, where do you go home? I says, we go down Blair. So he said,
I know where
well, you'll pass the lodge, call into the lodge, and let us see. We have some guests here this evening. Call into the lodge and let us see what you've got. Oh, but forgot. On the way there, we used to cross with a ferry at this. I can't remember what the name of the wee ferry. It was only a wee short ferry. Anyway, they built a new bridge.
I think I know where you are. Right.
New bridge had been built the day before. And we were crossing in the early morning on the Sunday morning. There was all the bunting and the flags were up. Oh my God, must be someone on here. So this guy says, stop at the house and hand in, let us see these pearls and we'll buy them for you, right? Okay. So we fished all day, got quite a few more. On the way down the road, I couldn't see any lodge, so I said to Kelly, there's a wee house on the left-hand side, the other side of the river. So we crossed the river to this wee cottage and knocked on the door, and an old lady come to the door. Excuse me, we're looking for the lodge. Where's the lodge house? She said, what do you want to go to the lodge for? I said, well, big guy with a white jersey on and a black BMW told us to call in. He'd some guests this evening and he wanted us to call in, he wanted to buy some pearls. So she said, well, that'll be Lord Soames. I said, oh, where does he live? And she says, he lives in the lodge down the road there. So I thought, oh, well, that's okay. So she said, but I'll phone first, right? So she phoned. And she said, you have to go in the back gate, the tradesman's entrance, right? I says, all right. I'm wondering, what's he doing with tradesman's entrance on a lodge? Well, when we got there, it was like Balmoral Castle. This was the lodge, right? So we went in the back entrance. I said to Kelly, put the pearls in the matchbox, I said, take them down and let them see them. So Kelly went to the back door and knocked on the door, and you can tell from there.
Yeah, well, big giant man came to the door, looked at the pearls and chose all the worst ones that were there instead of all the good ones, and then just made an offer, and it was pretty good.
No, I said you get about £200 if you can. You said 175 and you said okay.
I said yeah, that was So that was more than what we would have got, but he took them and thank you very much, and then you can tell who the guest was that night.
Yeah, well, we came home.
Right.
So on Monday morning, we were home Sunday afternoon, and Monday morning, Mary took the pearls into Alistair Cairncross's shop, and she was relating the wee tale to him about meeting up at this Lord Solmes. And Alistair Cairncross said, "You any idea who the guests were?" And I said, "No, it was the Queen and Prince Philip. They'd opened the bridge the day
That was a
before on
close one,
Saturday.
Yeah,
So they were staying there as guests overnight in the lodge. See, so
So the pearls were
he
good to
said,
show them.
and you sold them pearls. I said, yeah, we didn't have these phones that you've got nowadays.
No,
we could have did all
no,
that. We
no,
could have
no.
made a film about it. But anyway, he said, well, this would be a good chat round the Rotary Club table, he says, and the next time I have a thing, I'll tell them I'll be bumping into Lord Solmes, and
Amazing.
the guests would have been the Queen and Prince Philip, because they opened the bridge that day. That's what we reckon. Anyway, we
So
started.
by royal appointment then,
Yeah, by
Neil.
royal appointment.
Yeah.
And
Even though you did.
here again in fish.
Aye.
He said any time. But he died not long after. Anyway, many years later, I used to pick up mussels from other rivers, put them in the back of my pickup truck, and I had a rubber dinghy full of water. Take them home to my house in Dornoch when I lived in Dornoch. Kept them water running on them 24 hours a day.
Kept it all alive.
And I phoned up the factor at Laxford Bridge.
Right.
I asked if Lord Solmes, but I didn't know Lord Solmes wasn't there, he was dead. And the factor said, "What is it about?" I said, "Well, I related the story," and he said, "Yeah." I said, "I'd like to put mussels in the river there, because they're very scarce at the top end of the river, where the wee bridge is, where the old lady's house was." And he said, the factor said, "Yeah, that's no problem, come up any time and do that." And I said, "Would we be able to have a look in the river as well?" He says, "Yeah, no problem with that." So Mary and I took up a rubber dinghy, a good sized rubber dinghy full, hundreds of mussels were taken out of the River Kerry, which wasn't a productive pearl river, but it was productive mussel river with millions of them in it.
Right. So these aren't pearling. These wouldn't have already had pearls.
They wouldn't have had pearls, but they might
spawn them.
New shells, and they might get pearls at a later date in the Laxford. You know, the mussel might only be 20-year-old, 30-year-old, and it's still a long time to go. But it was just to seed the river again. So we parked on the bridge, Mary and I, and we threw the pearls into the deep bit of the water, and the shells anyway into the water. I never ever went back there to see what happened to them, you know, because we left on a few years later and never went back. But we used to do that with a lot of places. We'd go into a loch, a mountain loch up in the north, put mussels in it. The dawn.
Now, do you think the pearl fishing will come back?
No.
It's gone now.
No, they'll not allow it back. Never. No, I can't see that. No. Once you ban something, it's banned for good, ain't you?
If there was a better practice or somebody was able to
we
steward
offer
it better.
Practice.
Yeah.
We offer if you want £1,000 licence, we'll pay it. Make it that you can confiscate a vehicle, everyone belonging us, if we're caught killing a mussel. That was Fred Woodward, who was a curator in natural history in Kelvin Grove Museum. He became a friend of mine. We worked together with him. And I put mussels in the Kelvin River, which hadn't had mussels for hundreds of years, and they thrived. I gave them to Fred. I says, "Don't tell me where you're putting them. I might come back and look for them." So he took me way up the Kelvin, just above the Kelvin Grove Museum, and seeded them there. And unfortunately, Fred passed away last year. But he was the head man there, and he did his best. He wrote out a draft licence, which I have somewhere, relating to what we wouldn't mind. We wouldn't mind paying a big fee. We wouldn't mind if somebody came upon us and we were killing a shell, or they found a dead shell that were feet or in the river, that they could confiscate all our gear or car fines, severe fine or whatever. You know, we didn't care about that because we weren't going to be caught.
And it was about would have been about education as well, but they were no.
I used to see guys pearl fishing. I'd actually go up to them and say, "Come on, what's the point of killing this? There's nothing in there. How do you know?" I says, "Because I know." And I say, "You don't have to kill them anyway." And I'd show them the tool we had and say, "Use that tool. Then you'll see inside it. There's nothing in it. Just throw it back in the river." And the worst culprits were the scuba divers. You know, because they were going in, as I say, with a pool and a stream. They were going into the pool.
The deep pools.
And once the pool's wiped out, you're not going to get any in the stream next year.
Fascinating. Thanks, Neil. Thanks.
You're up.
Thanks,
Well,
John.
bored you.
Not at all. No, I could talk it. And I'm sure you've got more stories as well.
Stories. Could write a book about stories.
So that was great. That was Neil McCormack, who is the last. We'll get Mary as well. Thanks, Mary. Thanks for the sandwiches as well, guys. It's a lovely afternoon. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, no bother.
Cheers.
Anyone reading this article, that was about a guy called, I can't remember his name now, he went fishing in this river in Maine and he took ill when he was coming down the river with 2 Indians in a canoe. He took ill, it was in the 1870s or something, and he was doing a survey of the river, this Allagash River in Maine. He was coming down the river, took ill, so they camped up the side of the river. The Indians went to pick him up some food, fish and some wood for to light a fire and that. They went up the river, cut some branches to make him a nice wee shelter, and when they're trailing the branches behind the canoe back to the campsite, mussels attached to the branches. So they took the mussels, they opened them up, the Indians ate these things, so they opened them up and out pops a great big pearl. Now, this guy was of European extraction.
So that's
He knew
like
what a pearl
treasure.
was.
Yeah.
So he said, let's have a look at this then. So once he got better, he got the Indians themselves, they started searching the river.
Yeah.
He found enough pearls to keep him for a long time, and he went back to Bangor in Maine and he sold the pearls in Bangor in Maine and got a load of money, and that was in this book. And it said future pearl fishers should look on this book as being their, you know.
So would that have been the start of the pearl fishing? Did it come from America over here?
No, it was in Europe first. That was a European that had went to America.
Aye.
You know, and then we went to America.
Yeah.
Followed what this book had said.
Did you?
Rivers was in this book.
Unbelievable.
Went to the USA, went northern up to upper New York State. Pearl fish rivers there.
And were you finding them better rivers than the Tay itself?
The Skeet is pretty bleak.
There you go.
People friendly.
Yeah.
Very friendly.
Yeah.
Lovely people. There was a wee dirt track roads, you know, in the middle of forest.
Aye.
It was unbelievable. You know, the people were so nice. And,
But was that because the people had caught on to the fact that they could pick up pearls from their local river, and they were killing the mussels.
Yeah.
So
in this country, it's more.
So you had to go elsewhere.
Yeah, we started going elsewhere because we'd done as much as we could. I even bought a diving suit, and I dived some rivers that were too deep to walk into.
Yeah.
I would dive into them, and even at that, it wasn't that great. But unfortunately, we had a serious accident on a diving trip a pearling trip to River Spey one day, and a very good friend of mine was drowned. So my diving days were over. Our wife didn't let me do it again. So that was the end of that.
So, so the rivers are getting overfished, and by people who don't really know how to do it.
Yeah.
And you pulled in so the professors from Aberdeen University, and they started doing a survey on.
They did a survey on them, and I did a survey for Scottish Natural Heritage.
Yeah.
Going to rivers, every river I could think of in Scotland, and I had a look as much as I could to tell them the situation in the river. Was the river extinct? Was it? There are rivers in Scotland where the shells are millions of shells, but they weren't so good for getting pearls. Some rivers you could get pearls, and other rivers you would never find a pearls.
I wonder, And is that, obviously, it must be to do with the wildfowl.
It's got to do with the wildfowl, I would think, you know. And just the environment of the river, I don't know what. But there's some rivers really, really terrible. You can get nothing but any good river where you got good pearls. They were virtually extinct.
Yeah.
I mean, the Don used to be a famous river many years ago. The Eithne, the Yugi, they were all famous rivers. But at the time Mary's brother and I went to them, that was way, way back. Yeah. 70s. They were almost extinct. And there was no, you know, in the River Isle, that was a famous river at one time. Yeah. There was an awful lot of people must have been pearl fishing. In fact, in Victorian times, when Albert died, pearls became, Queen Victoria wore a lot of pearls. So pearls became, they were a mourning jewel. They were a jewel that was worn during mourning.
I didn't know that.
Queen Victoria wore pearls. Every Victorian wanted to emulate her, they wanted to wear pearls. So pearls became a big thing again in the Victorian times.
And at that time, everybody would have been picking them up at the River Don and Dee and
Picked them up everywhere.
Kay everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah.
And selling them, they could easily sell them.
Aye.
They could sell if you or I went pearl fishing. We just came from some wee village, went pearl fishing, found some pearls, and there's a big house just up the road with some lord or lady living
Yeah.
there. You go knock on the door, I found some pearls. They would buy them off you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They would give you something for them,
Yeah,
you know, because they would want to take them to their jeweller.
And
You wouldn't know the jeweller because
Yeah.
you've maybe never been in a big town. You're just
Aye.
living in this hamlet.
Aye.
You know?
Did you know the worth of the pearls though yourself? You knew that you were selling something of worth.
Oh yeah, aye. Well, Mary there, she was the expert.
Oh, she was.
We would come home at night and just scatter them out on the table for her,
Aye.
and she would count them up, and then she'd take them in, and
Aye.
she wouldn't
So
even be a fiver of difference between her and Alistair Cairn crosses.
I'm with you.
Well, it
I'm
was.
with you. So how many what would be a good day's pearl fishing then?
Well, a good day. Well, a lot of bad days, more bad days
Aye.
than good days.
And
but
that's no getting any at all.
a good day, you could you could get yourself a few £100 or
Aye.
maybe more. You
Aye.
know.
How many pearls?
Well, it depends the size of the
Well,
pearl. You
average
could get one
wages.
pearl worth £1,000, or you could get 100 pearls worth 50 quid. You know,
Yeah.
It just depends the size of them.
And-
They're sold by grain weight.
So I'm going to take this one to the
Yeah.
front, and this is still in the family.
Yeah.
So that really has to be one of the best pearls ever found in
I
the
think
Scottish
that's
River.
15 grains.
Yeah.
I think, I'm not quite sure now. I'm sure that's what it was.
And what's a grain?
I still have all the provenance,
official-
read those
yeah.
things, you know, Fells.
Yeah.
He made them.
And what's a grain?
A grain's a grain weight. It's an old weight,
Aye,
you know, for long ago.
aye.
You can still get grain weights, I think. They're very small. It's a small piece of like tin.
Aye, yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
need certain special scales for weighing.
So the pearl would go on one side of the scale and then...
Well, we usually took them to the jeweller. The jeweller,
Yeah.
you never saw him weighing them. He
Yeah.
weighed them and he told you what they were, so you
Yeah.
just took his word for it. But I remember going to Alistair Cairn crosses one time, and he was making a necklace for somebody. Well, he was making a necklace which could take, he told us, could take 20 years to make a necklace.
Yeah,
Because you must find
the right pearls.
the right pearl,
Yeah.
the right size,
Yeah.
and gradiate them for the middle.
Yeah.
And if we got a nice round pearl like that, Alistair would give you very good money for it, because he would say
Because
just
that's
gonna
what
go
the one I
in
was
there."
waiting for,
And
thank
he'd
you.
show you
Yeah.
the trough that they had,
Yeah.
the pearls were sitting in.
Yeah,
So he'd say that one can go in there. But
Yeah.
this necklace could take 10, 15 years to find the amount of the colour, the type, the shape
Amazing.
of pearl he wanted. There's
amazing.
all different shapes and sizes.
Yeah, yeah.
When you
And
get
they're not-
button, you get
They're not
pearls
always
like,
perfectly round as well.
No. You get them like buttons,
Yeah.
you know, flat in the bottom and round in the
Yeah,
top.
yeah.
You get them egg shaped. You get them all shapes and sizes. And it's just
Really
unbelievable.
interesting.